start with a blow pipe. This guy has to be heated to about 1,000 degrees. If the pipes are cold, they will not stick to the glass. The glass pipe got a little something in there. So, I can go ahead into the glass and take what's known as a gather. Anytime we put a layer of glass onto the end of a punty or a blowpipe, it's referred to as a gather. So this is one gather of liquid hot clear glass. Furnace is about 2150 degrees right now. At that temperature, the glass is basically like a hot honey. Before we blow in the glass, we oftentimes want to get it nice and symmetrical and even. So I'm going to use this wooden block to shape the material before I go to blow a bubble into it. We want our bubbles to be nice and even and symmetrical, so that's why we make the glass even and symmetrical first. So I'm going to blow a bubble by putting some pressure into the pipe. I'm going to pump into the pipe, and I'm going to trap that pressure with my thumb. The result will be a bubble coming out of the end of the pipe.
That's cool!
So the idea is I pressurize the pipe, caught that pressure with my thumb, combined pressure, heat from the glass, causes expansion of the bubble. Now, this won't make a very big pumpkin, this will make a little tiny pumpkin. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for the demo today. To do that, I'm going to put another layer of glass. So the very small pumpkins you see in the patch might be 1 or 2 layers of glass. If you see the really big basketball-sized ones, most glass blowers may put 5 or 6 layers of glass onto it. And so we can accumulate material in layers like that to get enough to make the object size that we're looking for. Now, I don't want to put hot glass onto a bubble that's very hot. What will happen is the whole thing will get superheated and will then become very unstable. So by waiting and hanging out, this glass is cooler. Anytime it's away from the heat source, it's cooling down very, very quickly. So what I'm waiting for is for this to cool down to about 13 or 1400 degrees, at which point it'll be much more solid, which will give me a stable coat to add more glass onto. So in just the time we've been talking, a moment ago it was hot enough I could blow it, and now it's basically solid. I can now add more glass. Thank you. Alright, so now we're a little bit bigger. This is still this clear glass. I'm going to make this pumpkin blue with kind of a gold step. So this is crushed colored glass, guys. This is called grit. So the clear glass is so hot that if I just touch it into the color, it's going to go ahead and pick up on it.
It's called art.
With the pumpkins, we say stuff like, well, this one's showing the shade. Alright, so you can see I put color on there. Yeah, don't touch it. So guys, there's color on there now, but you can see it's misshaping the bubble a little bit. So what I want to do is I'm going to heat this up, and I'm going to use that block again in order to get this back to a nice round symmetrical surface before I blow more. The other thing you're going to notice is this blue is going to more or less look green throughout the process. The reason for that is the color from the heat affects the color of the glass. So as this cools back down to room temperature, it will in fact become that aquamarine blue. Get this nice and hot, and I'm going to go ahead and use that block. That block is a wooden cherry wood tool. We use fruit woods to make our wooden tools because it's very dense wood. When we soak it in water, it holds a lot of water, which prevents the wood from just starting on fire. It'll smoke a little bit, but we get a lot more life out of tools that are made from fruit wood. Plus, they smell really super good. So I'm going to make this nice and round, nice and smooth. Back into a shape that I can blow a bubble into, and I'll get the result that I'm looking for. So I'm going to heat this up before I try and blow it. We want the glass soft anytime we're trying to shape it or move it. If the glass is too cold, just like you saw over here, it forms a solid, which is very difficult to work on. If the glass is very hot, it's more of a liquid, which allows me to move it around and shape it to our will. I'm going to blow this out a little bit more and make it more of a baseball-sized bubble. There, that's it. Yeah. So, next what I want to do is I want to put the ridges on the surface of this pumpkin. You'll see the pumpkins out in the patch have these beautiful ridges that really make that glass appear to be a pumpkin. To get those ridges, we're going to use what's known as an optic mold. It's this ridged mold that you see. There's little peaks and valleys on the inside of the mold, but it's kind of a cylinder. Right now what I have is a sphere, so pushing the sphere into the cylinder is not going to work very well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat my bubble up, and I'm going to reshape it into more of a tube, kind of make a tapered cylinder, and that'll fit the interior of the mold and make sure that part of the process goes well. They make all sorts of different types of optic molds. Some have very deep ridges, some have very shallow ridges. Some of them have many points, some of them only have a few points. And so when you see variation in the patch, as it comes to the ridges, it oftentimes is as a result of whatever mold that artist has chosen to use for their particular style. I'm gonna, go ahead.
Do some artists make their own molds?
It's very difficult to make those molds. They're cast aluminum most of the time, which requires its own industrial apparatuses. Some of the molds they do make, there's a type of mold called a fin mold, which is much simpler. It's more of a cage and less of an actual cast piece of metal. But yeah, sometimes they do make their own molds. So I'm gonna roll this out into a cylinder using this steel table. This metal table is called a marver, and we use it for a lot of things. It'll cool the glass, it helps us to shape the glass. All right, so now we're a much more appropriate shape to go into that mold. So I'm gonna get this really, really hot. Before we go into the mold, we need the glass hot enough to flow into those small ridges. The metal of the mold is very cold by comparison, so it's going to cool the glass as it flows into those ridges. So if I want to completely fill that mold, I need my bubble to be very, very hot. The hotter I get the glass, the faster I have to turn the pipe in order to keep up with the liquid nature of the hot glass. You'll see me rolling the pipe faster and faster. And this is about as hot as I'm going to get during this process. I'm going to keep this really super hot, go into the mold and blow, and hopefully the ridges will fill. I'm going to use the marver to shape a little bit. Now when I blow, these ridges will be maintained. So that's pretty good. Pretty cool, right? Alright, the only thing now is this glass is really strong at these temperatures. So I can bang this against the ground. It's not going to shatter at these temperatures. It's certainly not going to come off of the pipe. So what we need to do next is we need to make a line in the bubble that we can then later remove the glass from the blowpipe. The tool that we use to make this line are called the jacks. They're a double-bladed steel tool, and as a result, the line itself we refer to as a jack line. I cannot think of a piece of glass that you blow where you don't use the jacks. They're probably the most utilized tool in the glass studio. I'm going to do two things with this tool. I'm going to shape the bottom of my pumpkin while simultaneously leaving myself a space to remove it from the pipe. Again, I have to get warm before this is going to work. If the glass isn't moving, the tool is not going to be very effective. So I can go ahead, turn, keeping my bubble on center while squeezing on this tool a little bit. That's going to give me a line to remove the piece from the pipe, as well as help me to shape the bottom of my pumpkin. You can see this has changed shape now. It's no longer spherical. These guys be running beeswax, so you just see a little flame. If you saw a little flame, it's not not the glass. The glass itself won't burn, but the beeswax that we lubricate the steel with will ignite sometimes. So I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. Just by adding air to it, I'm just gonna blow into the glass, make my pumpkin a little larger.
So that jack line's also a stress riser, basically.
That's exactly right. You'll see later how I utilize that to get this off the pipe. It's important that that's made correctly, so at the end of the process I can remove it. It's a really good observation. So now we're back to kind of round, but my jack line got a little bigger while I was blowing. I want to make sure that's nice and tight, so I'm going to squeeze that back down a little bit. Now what I have here is basically a sphere. It's not very pumpkin-y. Pumpkins tend to be kind of short, squatty little things, and so to reshape the bubble, I'm going to use the tweezers to do a little sculpting on the bubble itself. Go ahead, gather. Meanwhile, Addison is going to go ahead and accumulate some glass on a solid pumpkin. That will become the stem of the pumpkin. We oftentimes work in teams as glass blowers. Sometimes there's more than one job that needs to be done simultaneously. A skilled helper is always an excellent thing. So I'm going to heat my bubble up. Addison's got some color on there. And I'm going to turn this into more of a pumpkin and less of a sphere. Use my tweezers. I can simply just push down a little. Make it kind of pumpkin-y. Alright, so I'm really pleased with the shape. I really like it. He's got a real organic form to him. Now, not only does the pumpkin have ridges, but also the stems on the pumpkins you'll notice have ridges. We have a small optic bulb that Addison's going to use to go ahead and put ridges on the stems. I'm heating this so that it doesn't get too cold and fracture. If this gets below a certain temperature, it'll start to crack. So I'm watching Addison for a time to go heat, to kind of know what each other are doing. And so I'm waiting here. He's going to bring the stem over. He's going to make contact with the body of the pumpkin, and then we're going to wrap the stem around this pipe here to form the coil of the vine. That taper.
Oh my. Oh my.
That was a really good one. Now, what I can do is use those tweezers on the hot stem to kind of finalize my shape a little bit. I can sculpt the stem, I can move those coils around a little bit. So this is hot enough that I can make these little contacts. I can round this up and shape it how I like it. That's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that.
Very nice, Maestro.
Thank you. I'm going to heat this a couple times when I'm walking around so you guys can get a close-up view of what's going on here.
How do you close the hole when you pull it out?
Say again?
At the end when you attach the stick from it?
Yeah, when we break it apart, we use water. I'll show you in just a sec. It's a really good question. Before we get to that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the stem turn gold. You'll notice the stem color is very much brown right now. I can adjust some settings on the furnace to change the flame, and that's going to make that brown turn into this beautiful gold silver color. The reason that happens is the minerals in the glass will come to the surface and chemically separate from the glass itself. This process is called a color reduction. So by adding gas into the furnace, we change the proportion of the flame, which causes this chemical reaction. You'll see a lot of the stems out there metallic and iridescent. This is the technique that they've used to make that happen. I'm just literally going to open up my gas line a little bit. It's going to cause what we call a reductive flame. starts to get silver and reflective. Keep going again and make it a little more so. This is an absolutely interesting question. Absolutely. As long as the fuel mixture in that wand of gas has a reductive nature. And by a wand of gas, we basically mean a torch. This MAPS gas torch also has a very reductive nature. I can also make this chemical reaction happen just using a torch. You'll see where it touches it, see how it changes it. So that's exactly what you're talking about. There's many different ways to burn the oxygen away from the surface of the glass. See where it changes it there? That's exactly what
like oxide.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yep, it changes it. All right, so I had a question over here a little earlier. Boy, how are you going to get that off the pipe there, Tony? And the way we do that is we use a little bit of water. So the water at these temperatures will fracture the glass. The water is very cold compared to the glass, and it cools it very quickly. Glass does not like being cooled that fast. I'm going to flash this one more time, and then I'll add a little water right on the jack line, this little seam that you see down here. That's going to crack the glass in just the right place. I'm going to be really careful not to get any on the pumpkin itself. It would absolutely crack my piece. If you're close enough, you're going to hear it sizzle. So I'm going to grab my tweezers, get a little water, very carefully apply it in just the right place. Then we can take our piece over to what's called a crack-off station. This is an area we prepare the glass to go into the oven. Alright, so I can come over here. I should be able to just give it a tap because it's been stressed out correctly. Oh, there's this little hole that's going to be very sharp. This is all nothing broken. It's broken even though it's hot. It's going to be very sharp. So I'm using this torch to soften that break area so that it's not sharp when this comes out of the oven. Now I can't just put this on the ground and hope it cools down. If it cools too quickly, it'll start to fracture and crack. So I can't even leave it in this basket for very long. What I'm going to do is get it with this hook, and I'm going to put it into this oven behind me. This oven is 950 degrees Fahrenheit. At that temperature, the glass is stable. It's warm enough that it's not going to crack. It's also cold enough at 950 degrees that it's not going to melt into a different shape inside that oven. At that temperature, I can load glass into the oven all day long, and then at the end of the day, I will slowly cool this oven over about 12 to 14 hours. That's a sufficient amount of time to allow the glass to safely and evenly cool, which keeps it from fracturing. Thanks so much for joining me, guys.